On Frontline this morning. Now we'll move on to the interview segment of the show where we'll be having some kind of shining a spotlight on the Benue killing and the aftermath of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's visit to Benue State to condole with the people of the government over the gruesome killing. In mid-June, armed gunmen stormed the villages of Yewata and killing between 200 and 250 people and burned in their sleep and displacing thousands of people, where we have people going to the IDP seeking refuge. President Tinubu has condemned the attack and also pledged swift action in respect of that. And this issue has generated a lot of reactions and controversy among Nigerians, particularly the aftermath of the President Tinubu's visit to Benue State. And it's unfortunate that we keep talking about Benue killings every now and then without we profiling a lasting solution to this issue. So joining us to discuss this is Rotimi Johnson Ojasokba, a public affairs analyst in the studio with us this morning. It's good to have you joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So let's begin with first asking ourselves that how did we get here? Because this particular killing is one out of many series of massacre that has taken place in Benue State. So how did we get here?
Well, we got here because consistently we have had nonchalant leaders who are more interested in being politically correct than really saving lives and property. Essentially, that's why we got there. It's not peculiar to this present administration. It has been there for some time, you know, but evidently they know the root cause, but it's obvious we've not gotten any leader that is ready to tackle it head-on. That's why the problem will persist if care is not taken even beyond this present administration.
So are you saying it's some kind of political failure on the part of the state government or the federal government?
I will not call it political failure. It's leadership failure. Because killing does not have coloration. Killing is killing. It doesn't matter who is perpetrating it. So if they keep killing your people and as a leader and you can't bring the perpetrators to book, because as we are talking, even as at this moment, there are no records of arrests or any set of, killers, serial killers of such going through any prosecution. That's how you know the level of decadence that this has brought into the system. So it's not the issue. Even when the governor is saying that that's political sponsorship, that's rubbish. Killing is killing. It's unconstitutional. It is, by every way, it is wrong. Morally, spiritually, everyhow, it is wrong. So what are you doing as a leader to stop it and bring the perpetrators to book? You're saying political sponsorship. It's nonsense. So leaders in, leaders out, they have tried to avoid, facing the issue because they want to win the next election. They are more particular about the next election than preservation of lives and properties.
So yesterday, I heard the Commissioner of Police in Benue saying that they made some arrests of some suspects, undisclosed number, and they cannot even parade the suspects. And people have been reacting to this. Why can't you tell us the number of the people you arrested? And why can't Nigeria even know these people? So do you think there is any reasons or measures behind this?
That's a propaganda. Number one, if you don't tell us the number of people arrested, then nobody will be able to query if some of them have been released. You understand? Then if we don't know the faces of those who have been arrested, if eventually they were swapped with maybe some other condemned criminals that are already serving jail time, nobody will be able to query or question it in any way. So it's just a propaganda not to paint them as grossly inefficient and useless. So they just have to come up with something after month of the president's visit. But from the way they are handling it, we are not stupid. We have been in Nigeria for some time. And we know the game when we see it. So they are not being sincere. They are not being sincere. If those who have perpetrated killings, hundreds of Nigerians, and you are saying you are not going to disclose the number of people arrested, you are not going to even parade them to let us see the evidence of your arrest that you are working, then they are not doing anything. They have not done anything yet. you can take that. You can take that to the bank. They have not done anything yet.
So during the town hall meeting, during the visit of the president to Benue State, one of the traditional rulers was saying that it's not a Fulani elders clashes, that this is a pure case of genocide. Do you also align with his thoughts on this Benue killing?
Yes, it looks so much like not only genocide. Yes, it's genocide, but it's like ethnic cleansing. And we have records that in some of those places, the killers take over the village after they've sacked the indigenes. They take over. So it's more like ethnic cleansing, and there is display. They display them to replace them. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. So they display the indigenous settlers so that they can replace them. And that is why you wonder what our security agents are doing. Because if any village has been sacked, all you have to do is to lay ambush in the vicinity and see who come to claim the land. And from there, you know if it's those who sacked them or the indigenes that are trying to resettle. But they sack them, they just create IDP for them. Rather than resettling them in their villages and give them maximum security, our government is always very swift in providing IDP where they don't even take care of the people. They don't take good care of the people. You have sacked them from their farmlands, you have sacked them from their homes, and even in the IDP, they are still impoverished. So you see that our leaders are not really ready to tackle this issue. If it were to be election now, they want to win election, they want to campaign for election, they go everywhere, they do everything. But when it's time to govern, to lead, they give you different kind of excuses. They give you different kind of... If it is the same desperation and determination with which they win election, they face campaign, that they try to improve our lives and lead the people, Nigeria will have been a lot better than what we have now.
Talking about ways out of this killings and looking for lasting solution, we have a report yesterday saying that 11 states are taking steps to commence ranching as the way of addressing the age-long violent clashes between herders and farmers, which has claimed several lives. I think this particular ranching system has been on the table for a while now. Do you think solving the problem of herders and farmers clashes and also stopping the killings?
Well, ranching is part of it, but the fundamental solution is to first ban open grazing. When it is a serious crime to even move your cattle by land from one point to the other, because under the guise of cattle grazing, they perpetrate all manner of evils. It's not just sacking the settlers and killing them. They rape the women on the farmland. They bar them even from coming from the land. Apart from their cattle destroying the farmlands, they even bar them from coming. So if cattle rearing, the way it is being done through, what's the word they use for it? These Fulani herders, if they are stopped from moving their cattle from one point to the other by land, when you first ban that, everybody will naturally resort to ranching. But if you say you're going to ranching and you don't ban
open grazing,
the problem will persist. Because initially we are just grazing, we are not the killers, we are not this. Because it's not all of them that are actually killers. But with this endangering some other Nigerians, you have to ban open grazing completely. So when it is banned, wherever we see cattle crossing the main road, we know it's a major crime. The herder will be prosecuted as a suspected killer, because destroying farmlands encroaching in other people's property. All different kind of prosecution will come up for that. But we must first enforce anti-open grazing law. When that is done, the excuse of these people maybe coming from Mali or whatever they claim they are coming for, they don't longer have excuse to come into our areas, because most of the time they perpetrate this evil in ungoverned spaces or remote villages. So there is no longer any excuse for them. For instance, if I see a man with cattle, when it is fully enforced, I know that this man is a potential criminal, because the fact that you are contravening that anti-open grazing law enough is making you a criminal and a suspect. It makes it very easy, and cattle cannot be hidden. So it makes it very easy to spot and arrest anybody. But if we don't first enforce that anti-open grazing law, and you are just going to cattle ranching, you have not solved the problem. Because the problem is not anti-ranching, it's not even ranching. The problem is criminals, killers, hiding under cattle grazing to perpetrate evil. So we must first stop the cattle grazing. Then we now reform our cattle rearing business in Nigeria.
For some people, I think the recent Benue killing and even the recent Plateau killing is a red flag that other states, other parts of the country should not overlook. And a lot of suggestions have been made as far as state policing is concerned, even though this doesn't sit well with some quarter. So do you think that state policing is something that every state should key into, an initiative that states should key into?
Of course, it's an initiative that, as it is in Nigeria, insecurity is a major problem. In fact, insecurity and hunger, they have back to back, facing Nigerians. And the best way to tackle this present state of insecurity in this country is to have policing, community policing, that can be achieved through state police. You have people that are indigents that are employed by the state government to man their state. They are stakeholders in the peace and progress of that state. Then, from the community, they understand the nook and cranny of the community. They know everyone, or virtually everyone in the community. And the community too know them. So you can't jeopardize the peace and progress of your community. So when we go that way, it will reduce the bottleneck we have in the IG have not said, or the AIG have not said. The chain of command is too long. Then the manpower of the Nigerian police force is so ridiculous. As big as Oyo State is, I doubt if we have 50,000. Maybe I doubt if you have 10,000 policemen. As big as Oyo State is. Because if you go to the police station, you'll probably just find somebody at the counter, just one person. Most of the time, because they will have gone for checkpoints. Most of our policemen, they are, guiding and protecting the wives of our political leaders and our senators, our elected officials. So you wonder how many are left to protect life and properties. Despite the fact that we have many of our military men also joining the state joint task forces, staying at the major junctions, particularly interstate junctions. Despite all this, you know that our security agents, they are not well staffed. The numerical strength has dropped so much, and our leaders are not seeing that as priority. Then you also look at the fact that they are not deploying modern technology, to fight crimes, because crime have gone so advanced. Not even with this AI now, because with AI it has given retail individuals access to the kind of technology that only Pentagon could boast of. I don't understand. But now, with AI now, without you knowing, I can even monitor conversation on your phone. I can use AI to know your location without you know so
technology has advanced.
But you discover that our security agents are not taking advantage of this technology.
Is it that they don't want to take advantage, or they don't have the resources to take advantage of it?
I think they are just misplaced their priority. They have misplaced their priority. I've seen some things to let me know that even the top hierarchy of our security agencies, their priorities are wrong. And the only person that can give them marching order and reset their priority is the chief executive officer of the country and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And if he's not seeing it as a priority, the business will continue as usual.
So let's talk about whether it's short-term or long-term policies that you think the federal government and the state government, but in Benue State, should put up now, at least for some level of peace to reign in Benue State, because as it is now, we don't know what is going to happen after the president visits, whether there's going to be another attack. We don't pray so, but what policy do you think should be implemented as soon as possible to end this killing?
Well, the first thing is, not only in the middle belt generally, there should be deployment of helicopters and drones to be manned by the armed forces, because those who perpetrate this evil, they are in their tens and hundreds, so they are moving as a group, and it is very easy to spot group movement. So they are not ghosts. So when they perpetrate this evil, they can run, but they can't hide. So until we begin to be so determined to not only stop it, arrest this perpetrator and make them serve as deterrent to others, then we are not yet serious. So anything we are going to do that will stop this killing, I do not rule out the possibility of indigenes, conniving with outsiders to make it successful. Because once there is exchange of consideration, give them money or give them land, they want to cooperate. Particularly, maybe that person in that community has even been an outcast, so it's an opportunity to pay back the community. But I'm not ruling all such compromises out. But anything government can do, one, to stop the killing. If they have to recruit the villagers, into a special squad, encouraged by the Nigerian army, like the Chief of Defense Staff suggested, that they should be trained in how to defend themselves, whatever, to stop it. Then, two, perpetrators must be arrested, prosecuted, and let all Nigerians see what they have made of them for perpetrating such evil. When you do that consistently, because in fighting this kind of crime is not one-off thing. If you do it today, then the next 3, 4, 5 months, these criminals succeed in different communities. They are more emboldened. But when, from the government side, you succeed in stopping them every time they want to make the attempt, you arrest, you prosecute, and execute, others will run. Others will run. And if they are coming from outside Nigeria, they will desist. Nigeria is no longer a fertile land for their evil acts. But for as long as they record success, because whether we like it or not, the media also help to propagate their success. 55 people killed in Benue community, 100 people killed in Taraba community. We are also helping. I say we, because when we talk about it, we are also helping to propagate their success. And as long as the year of the success, their other members are recording from wherever they are, whether from within Nigeria or outside Nigeria, we have already painted that part of Nigeria as a successful place for such acts.
So in one of your, maybe one of your content, I see you talk so much about self-defense. Like if it gets to that point where communities have to rise up and defend themselves, do you consider any risk associated with it?
Of course, self-defense from the community will also have its own collateral damage. because in the course of it, you release weapon into the hand of some youth or some people who, at the end of the day, will want to misuse that power, because weapon in your hand is power. I don't know whether you can imagine it. Weapon in your hand is that power, is a power. Because ordinarily, I've been seeing you around. I can't just say, ah, yeah, Tope, stand up. But because I have weapon, and you see the weapon with me, even when you don't, who is this man? You want to obey. Yeah. And when a young man tries that a couple of times, this thing is powerful. Oh, you begin to think about other misadventures. So it comes with its own, repercussion. So that's why government has a responsibility to make sure that people will not have any reason to want to resort to self-defense and self-defense. But it is inevitable. If it continues like this, every man will want to protect his home. And there is and this is the mentality of the average man, if it is not a coward, that okay, even if you come to my home, I'm not saying I will not die, but all of you won't go back complete. In Yoruba, at least I will be able to inflict damage, injury on you if I can eliminate you first. You understand? And when it gets to that point, it will always have repercussion. Because one day, even where you put the gun, a boy will go there and play with it and will probably kill his sibling. An angry boy one day will say, my mother is too strict, he will shoot. You understand? So it will come like it happened in the US. But what I'm saying is, government has the responsibility to make sure it doesn't get to that point. Because when it gets to that point, it will be very difficult for government to even mop up the weapons and the firearms back. Because you won't know how you get it. Survival is something that is instinctive. You want to protect yourself, you do everything. People will manufacture weapons. They will do everything to protect themselves. And I wonder, sincerely, I wonder why they have not started already. Sincerely, I wonder why they have not started already. Because what are the community leaders doing? Call your youths. Because growing up, I remember that those days that armed robbers will write that on so day too, we are coming to your neighborhood. I don't know whether you ever...
And it even seemed that their representatives at the National Assembly are so quiet about this issue.
They are quiet, they are docile, they are inefficient, they are grossly useless. Because they are the one that should be crying, not even the community. What are you representing when they are killing your people?
Exactly.
They are the one that should be crying, doing town hall meeting, crying. So they should be crying even more than the bereaved. Because one day, it will knock, that violence will knock on their door. One day, it will definitely knock on their door. It is very easy now when there is no campaign. But I know that if all these killings are happening during campaign period, most of them will have been crying on social media, just to win the sympathy of the voters. But if it is not caught, one day, this violence will knock on their door. Because we have communities in the northwest and the middle belt, where they go to knock on people's door and take whoever they want to kidnap, whether the wife or the children, they take them from their homes. Is that bad?
And I also remember that this killing was even worse than this during Samuel Orton's administration, and it seems that we are not going to see an end anytime soon to it. Even after the president visit, Nigeria were still speculating that this might not even be the end of the killing. Do you see us seeing any positive change after all this intervention coming from the federal government?
Well, the only way we can see any positive change is if Mr. President gives the military agencies and the Nigerian police marching order, not just the word of mouth. They don't need to publish it. We will see it from their action. Because one thing is fundamental. Nobody wants to be sacked from his job. Nobody. So when you know your job is at stake, you get serious.
Exactly.
Particularly many of them, they are near their retirement. They don't want their record to be stained. So until they have that kind of marching order that put their career at risk.
Yeah. We have the chief of army staff relocating at one point to Benue State.
They can even achieve it without relocating. That one is just, you know, how do I call that one? It's just to plate the gallery, you know, just to give a similitude of I'm working, kind of, because you can achieve it without even going to Benue. Because if you are going to Benue, it's not enough. If you are staying in Makurdi, go and stay in Yenewata or another place you suspect that there's going to be attack. You know, that way we know that the whole military force have gone there. But if you are staying in Makurdi and claiming that you have gone to Benue, you can stay in Makurdi and just be enjoying in hotel now. Just for the record that you are in Makurdi. You understand? Meanwhile, you have trained officers you can delegate that will execute the job. Not necessarily you going there. That's why you're the leader. But what are the marching order is giving the relevant agencies under him to make sure that this thing does not happen again.
Well, thank you so much, Rotimi Johnson Jasokwe, for your time on the show this morning as we look at the aftermath of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the town hall meeting he held in condoling with the government of Benue State over the gruesome killing of the residents of the state. Just like we rightly said that the government really needs to do more in the area of security. We need to do more in the security architecture of the country to ensure that Nigerians experience peace in any way they find themselves. Once again, a big thank you to my guest on the show this morning. We'll take a break now to allow for sport updates with Adebola Adeleke. Do stay with us.